Let's hear Jordan Peterson talking about how dystopian Canada is.
Dr. Peterson, I want you to talk about the debanking issue we saw so much of, and how that was, particularly, I guess, with the truckers, and how that's, because I see it coming. I see it coming here, and it frightens me.
Yeah, it feels like Canada is a test ground right now for dystopian, Orwellian, tyrannical measures. And when you look at something like Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act, a bill that is clearly designed to completely destroy free expression in Canada, and you can subscribe to my channel if you want to see my videos on that. It's terrifying. But yeah, people in other countries need to pay attention to what's happening in Canada because, well, you don't want it happening to you.
I want you to talk about what took place in Canada and if it in any way impacted you.
Well, there was essentially a working class protest against the extensive length of the COVID lockdowns.
And we need to add that it was also the mandates as well.
And one consequence of that was that Canadians who participated, even by donating to the protest and even by donating small amounts to the protest, had their bank accounts seized in consequence of a collusion between the banks and the government that was extrajudicial, that was recently deemed unconstitutional, despite the fact that we don't have strong First Amendment claims. So this happened. The government is currently maneuvering in Canada to make the possibility of such collusion a certainty across multiple actual and potential domains of so-called harm, particularly in relationship to government-defined hate. Yes, this is absolutely coming, and it's facilitated by the kinds of advancements in technology that we talked about today.
Yeah.
I make videos on this constantly. I'm making videos all week about this sort of stuff. And is this real? Like, is this real? This isn't like some dystopian novel. Like, this stuff is all real. It's actually happening. You know, I think Canada had been used to, and I think they were used to getting at least reasonable leadership, whether it was the Liberal Party in Canada or the Conservatives. There was a lot of overlap between the two. And the leaders, I mean, you'd quibble about certain things. There's things you like. Some issues bigger than others, but you never felt that they were actually totally incompetent or totally insane or just like out and out ideologues, like extremists. So Trudeau, owing to his name and to his fantastic hair, just snuck in. And people thought, well, Canada's, you can't do anything that bad. That doesn't happen in Canada. Canadian prime ministers don't do stuff that's actually completely insane. Canadian prime ministers don't actually try and destroy the country. We may differ on certain things, but they're not actually trying to just wreck the country. Like, they do care about the welfare of Canadians, right? So Trudeau snuck in. People liked his hair. And they liked his last name. And he got in. And everybody just kept sleeping. As things got worse and worse in the country, as it became more and more obvious that he was incompetent, people just kept kind of going with it. Now it would be, if the election were tomorrow, it would be a historic win for the Conservative Party in Canada. But the problem is we've got to wait until, it looks like we're going to have to wait until late 2025 to get rid of him. So he's got all that time to continue doing his insanity, he's got all that time to continue fucking up the country. And it's awful and it's tragic. As I said just a couple of weeks ago, he was telling us about how in an interview that his main job was to convince Canadians how great all the mass immigration actually is. And telling us that it's his job to convince us that things are better now. And they're going to keep getting better. What he's doing is going to keep working, even though we all know it's an utter and total lie and it's wrecking the country.
The government is currently maneuvering in Canada to make the possibility of such collusion a certainty across multiple actual and potential domains of so-called harm, particularly in relationship to government-defined hate.
I'm saying that accusations of hate are the last refuge of the modern scoundrel, the modern political scoundrel. And when you are as hated as Trudeau is in Canada right now, and when you have no ability or inclination to improve the standing of the people of your nation. What would somebody like Trudeau do? Well, they just become a tyrant. They freeze the bank accounts of dissidents, and they look to label everybody who disapproves of them as hate. Yeah, Canada has become a cautionary tale, and I hope everybody is paying attention.